Can the narcissist be cured? Double toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Of course, this is the well-known incantation of the three witches in Shakespeare's Macbeth from 1605, and they would have had as much chance of curing a narcissist with that concoction as anybody might hope to have. But this is a question that is regularly posed. Can the narcissist be cured? People wonder. There are those that claim that it can be done. There are those that point to an individual who hitherto led a turbulent life and was viewed as a narcissist and then has become redeemed. There are a number of factors at play here. First of all, the unreliable narrator that claims that narcissism can be cured for their own self-aggrandizement. They believe that they have the tools to do so and have claimed that they have successfully achieved this. However, what actual evidence has been provided of this, and moreover, the difficulty is, how do they demonstrate the permanence of what has occurred? The fact remains that, in other instances, somebody who might have behaved in a somewhat chaotic fashion and then has redeemed themselves, it may actually only be a temporary cessation in the behaviours. It is quite the case that certain narcissists can, if you want to put it this way, behave themselves for a period of time, maybe even a few months, in order to ensure that the primary source is kept in place, in order to ensure that the prime aims are provided in a way which doesn't threaten the overall status of the narcissist. Admittedly, it is unusual. The behaviours tend to creep in after a period of time of a few weeks, but in certain instances, a narcissist may be able to keep their nose clean for a number of months, of course, once the sustained devaluation has occurred. As you know, the golden period can last for months, even a couple of years, and therefore no problems would have been detected until that point. The point is that after that, when the devaluation has occurred, it is unusual for a narcissist to be on the straight and narrow for months at a time without there being some behaviour which demonstrates that devaluation has come back. Indeed, in certain instances, devaluation is occurring, but you might not even realise it as a lack of understanding of narcissism, and moreover, certain narcissists, the devaluation is extremely subtle. Indeed, take a step for devaluation, and the individual might not even suffer any adverse consequences that they know about, but they're being cheated on by their dog with a sick-stick approach from their narcissist. So first of all, there are those who claim that they have somehow cured narcissism, but there is no evidence to support it, and there's no evidence of permanence. Secondly, there are those that believe that there has been some kind of change effected in the narcissist, and they have been conned as a consequence of a lack of understanding about narcissism, and indeed not knowing what to look for, and have not allowing a sufficiently long period of time. The third aspect is that where there does appear to have been long-lasting change, then the individual will not have been a narcissist to begin with, and is likely to have been an individual who was narcissistic, or quite probably a normal, that was suffering repeated erosions to their emotional empathy, resulting in certain behaviours. But once those have been removed, then they are able to conduct themselves in a meaningful, constructive, and a manner with emotional empathy. A good example of that is, say, a 17 or 18-year-old boy who is repeatedly getting into trouble with the law. It might be seen that he has many of the behaviours of a narcissist: a sense of entitlement, a lack of accountability, a lack of emotional empathy, haughty behaviours, manipulative behaviours, poor boundary recognition. But this is all because of a consequence of involvement in taking drugs arising from a difficult childhood. And once he's removed from those drugs, the behaviours never in any form show themselves again. And that demonstrates that it's the external stressor that was causing his behaviour and was not an underlying personality disorder that was pathological in nature. So it is important to appraise the situation first to determine, were you actually dealing with a narcissist that has then altered their behaviour, or was it a non-narcissist who was exhibiting a temporary aberration, albeit a sustained temporary aberration, with regard to their behaviours, and when that external stressor has been removed, they are now able to conduct themselves in a meaningful way with emotional empathy? Or is it a situation whereby there is no permanence and that has not yet been achieved? The fact is, narcissism cannot be cured. Why? It is a perfect self-defense mechanism. It is hermetically sealed. The cake has in effect been baked. I have explained how narcissism has formed in my video, What is Narcissism? And once that has been done, the personality, the disordered personality as it's viewed of the narcissist, is complete. It cannot be undone. It cannot be rewired. It cannot be altered. You cannot re-traumatize the narcissist so that somehow they undo it, because you cannot replicate successfully those conditions in an adult, because they've already taken place. You are not coming to it with a clean slate. Furthermore, the personality has been formed. The self-defense mechanism has fused in place, and it is entrenched. The nature of the self-defense mechanism is that it apprehends any attempt to challenge it, to dismantle it, to defuse it, to diminish it, as a threat to its very existence, and in effect steers the narcissist in some way to move away from the threat, to nullify it either directly, indirectly, or by withdrawal through the three assertions of control. A way to liken it would be, let us say you have caught a disease called purple spot disease. And part of the way that that disease manifests is that it causes you to realise when the doctor is trying to give you the antidote, so you run away from him. An antidote actually exists in that instance, but the disease itself ensures that you would shoot, punch, shove away, run away from, throw away the antidote to escape being given it. So that the disease causes you to ensure that it can't be cured. Narcissism is similar in that respect, because when it apprehends any attempt to tell that narcissist what you're doing is incorrect and we need to alter it, it is seen as a threat to the control and the narcissism rejects it. That is why therapy is useless for a narcissist. Lesser narcissists don't tend to bother with it. They're scathing. Nothing wrong with me. You go and see the doctor if you think there's a problem. They're dismissive of it. Or if they do tend to attend, they'll go once or twice and then dismiss it as a crock of shite. Mid-rangers love therapy. It's a brilliant opportunity for them to sob on the shoulder, to pop their shriveled walnut balls on the coffee table and talk about how horrible the world is to them, and principally because of that bitch or that lunatic at home. It's just an opportunity for them to continue the manipulations through their pity plays. They embrace it by virtue of trying to demonstrate that they're doing something to improve themselves. But the narcissism will never let any change occur. The narcissism uses an opportunity to manipulate the therapist, so as to reject any attempt to change the narcissist, and indeed to cause the therapist to think that the narcissist is not one, and that it is the person at home is the problem. I'm sure there are many of you listening who have experienced that situation where the narcissist attend therapy only to return and say, "Therapist says there's nothing wrong with me, you're the problem." Sometimes that's an out-and-out lie, and sometimes it's not, because they have successfully charmed the individual who is the therapist. Other mid-rangers use the attendance where no change is effected, but then claim that they are a better person for it. They claim that they have looked long and hard within themselves and recognized that they needed to make changes, that they had become a better person, that they've realized the error of their ways, it's all flannel, it's all bullshit, because they're narcissists. And this is just being said towards you for the purpose of duping you. And moreover, they will use it to triangulate you. I said, I recognised I had issues, I've been and addressed them. When are you going to address yours? It becomes a stick to beat you. The greater and the ultra would only use therapy for the purposes of making us more effective, to learn more about who we are, and to utilise that information to our advantages. We know we cannot be changed. Moreover, why should we? We don't want to, because we are so effective. The lesser and mid-range narcissists don't know what they are, and to suggest that there needs to be alteration is always rejected in some form. Yes, lip service might be paid to the attendance at therapy, the pretence of changing, but it is not wholesale, fundamental, and pathological, far from it. They don't know what they are, and therefore, inherently, they see no reason for it to alter. The greater and the ultra know what they are, but see there's no reason to change because we're so effective. And therefore, the narcissism defends itself in whichever form, so that no attempt can even be made. Furthermore, the attempt is entirely fruitless. The narcissism has already been created. It is hermetically sealed. The personality, the disordered personality, has become fused. It has become created. It cannot be undone. In the same way that when you are created as an empath, you cannot be undone. You can't get rid of, you can't shed your empathic traits. The narcissist cannot be cured because what is done has been done in order to create the most effective self-defense mechanism. It's part of who the narcissist is, fused into the DNA, hardwired into what we are, and cannot be undone. We won't let it be undone, and even if we did, even if we did allow someone to try, it wouldn't work anyway. It is like trying to dismantle a burglar alarm, and the burglar alarm knows that what you're doing is trying to dismantle it, so it'll go off, so that your attempt fails. And even if the burglar alarm didn't go off, as you got inside, you'd realise that there was nothing that you could do to alter the fact it is a burglar alarm, and then eventually it would go off once again. This is the nature of the defence mechanism. It is superb in terms of what it does, i.e. the maintenance of the existence of the narcissist, the rejection of threats to control, because we always do achieve control. As I've explained elsewhere, there can be haphazard collateral consequences. And, again, not all narcissists are successful, far from it. They lead chaotic, disruptive, pretty shitty lives. Others are very successful and lead very effective lives. But it all comes down to the pursuit of the prime aims, and the narcissism is superb in ensuring that those are catered for, and in so doing, asserting control, rejecting threats to control, rejecting accountability, maintaining a sense of entitlement. And because of all of that is in place, the narcissism cannot ever be undone, because it is complete, and once it's complete, that is it. And moreover, its very nature means that nobody is allowed close enough to even attempt to dismantle it, even though that cannot be done. It might be that at some point, hundreds of years in the future, that there is some way of altering the neural pathways of the narcissist and affecting some kind of astonishing brain surgery that could alter the outcome in that way. But that is a long, long, long way away. And even then, that would presuppose the narcissist consenting to such treatment. So even if, in the future, some method of devising a change within the narcissist could occur, and it can't at the current time, and that is not even on the horizon, even if there were some way of lasering part of the brain, for example, inserting a chip that somehow added emotional empathy and rewired the existing behaviours, you'd have to get to the narcissist first to put it in, and the narcissism wouldn't let you. The only way that that could be achieved would be if there were some kind of legal method of basically pinning the narcissist down and subjecting them to that treatment. And that could, of course, come at some future point, but it's a long way away. And indeed, that would probably only be utilized as against lower level narcissists. The higher level ones, of course, would be the ones that would be behind the suggestion of they need to change, but I don't. And it goes back to the difficulty in spotting certain narcissists. Therefore, one might envisage science fiction with regard to bringing about some kind of change, but it would not be wholesale. The reality is this: no cure for narcissism exists, no cure is on the horizon, and that is for two reasons. One, the narcissism is fully formed and cannot be undone. Two, even if it could, the narcissism would not allow anybody attempt to do it, and therefore it fails. Narcissism cannot be cured. But there is a cure for narcissism that you possess, and that is the utilization of my work and the implementation of no contact, the reduction of your emotional thinking, and the evasion of future narcissists. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.